Well, good evening, everybody. What an exciting day it's been in Portugal. It was exciting anyway, because we've got a fabulous webinar lined up for you where we'll be getting real with Portuguese real estate. And last night, of course, late last night, the Portuguese Prime Minister, António Costa, announced the end of the NHR here in Portugal. So that's bound to come up. I don't really want that to dominate proceedings tonight because we're here to talk about what was already quite an excitable situation with Portuguese real estate. And we've got a fantastic lineup for you to do that. António Barbosa of Infinite Solutions. We've got Veronica here, American in Portugal. You'll know her from YouTube. Hyde from the agency in Lisbon. Vitor Costa, Portugal Door, up there in the north of Portugal. We've got a couple of currency experts with you who will chip in as well, because it's a very important part of the conversation of moving to Portugal as well. And our Portugal Club. This is a Portugal Club presentation tonight, and members of our Portugal Club are in the wings, leading the way with questions that we'll no doubt have. So let me introduce to you our excellent panel tonight. It's my honor to introduce to you first António from Infinite Solutions, whose idea this was really. Good evening to you, António. Where are you in the world on the Iberian Peninsula this evening? Oh, we'll need you to unmute as well, António. Well, that's an awkward start. While António is sorting his microphone out, let's bring on Veronica, and we'll come back to you in just... Oh, António, you are there now, aren't you?
Yeah, I was muted for a second. I didn't realize I was muted. So
where are you? Let's rewind, and we'll come to you in just a moment, Veronica. Where are you? What is that fabulous view there, António?
This is Vila Nova de Cerveira. The Rio Minho in the background separates the Iberian Peninsula between Spain and Portugal, and the northernmost part of Portugal. That's where the Minho River, when it reaches the Atlantic, before it gives it a nice hug and kiss, it just says goodbye to the mountain of Santa Tecla and Caminha. So that's where I'm at. Vila Nova de Cerveira, here in the Minho, one of Portugal's best kept secrets.
Okay, that's absolutely wonderful. That's your normal territory, of course. And you're taking us to your Clubhouse audience this evening as well. So do you want to say a few words and welcome everybody on Clubhouse this evening as well?
Sure, real quickly. And thank you. Yeah, this is being simultaneously also streamed to social audio app, Clubhouse. And so we have a few friends here listening in, and anybody else will be coming on. There is a pin link up on top. And today's room is about let's get real on real estate in Portugal. Okay, this is hosted under the Portugal House, hosted by me, António, and looking forward to a great conversation with everyone here. Great panel between Veronica and Carl and Vitor, also here in the Minho, and definitely Sarah and Brian. So thank you for putting this together, Carl.
Absolutely. Let's bring everybody else on then, one by one. I think, Veronica, you're a little further north than you might ordinarily be in Portugal this evening. Welcome to you. Thank you for being with us.
Hello. Yes, I'm in beautiful Évora. You're American in Portugal, who focused on generally Americans, North Americans, but it's been all over the world. I have people who've moved here through me from Singapore, Australia, Ireland, England, Scotland. So the world is opening up for the people that want to move to the Algarve and beyond.
Superb. And how is Évora this evening? Because I think we'll come back to you on the lovely time you've had with Seth, and not many people can say that, can they?
Oh, it was such a beautiful day. I mean, you wouldn't believe how everything lined up, and I think setting right. When you put the right vibe out there, you get it back, and everything went perfect today with my friend. And they actually let me into the SCF office. They never let me bring a friend.
How lovely up there. So we'll hear more about that wonderful experience. And I think, well, we need to hear from the friends you made there today who talked about the NHR situation. Because as I said, we don't want to dwell on it too long, but you filmed for us a really brilliant minute of reaction, a very human reaction to the whole NHR thing. So we'll come back to that. Thank you so much for being here tonight with us.
I drove her up here, so that's...
Oh, I see. I beg your pardon.
My immigrants.
Right. Okay. Excellent service. Okay. From the agency in the capital, it's Hyde, everybody. How are you this evening, Carl? Hello.
Hello. I'm good. Yeah.
Good.
Sorry, it's breaking up a little bit. I fear it's my connection that's letting me down tonight. So, but yeah, I'm just south of the capital in Charneca de Caparica, So about 30 minutes outside of Lisbon. And yeah, like Veronica, I'm helping all kind of expats find their way in Portugal, find places to live, find places to rent in and around Lisbon. So yeah, here to help.
Okay, so get those questions coming in, folks. You've heard already, we can help you in the north, we can help you in the south, and we can help you in the capital. Also in the north is Vitor Costa. So let's say good evening to Vitor, who I think has really helped put his part of the country on the map, Barcelos, Ponte Lima, and Viana do Castelo. How are you, Vitor?
That's confidential, but I'm great.
Excellent. A slightly quirky approach, as you'll be hearing more of this evening. So yeah, all well. Your mission there, as we can see on the screen, to create value and growth in our community. Fairly new to this scene, but you've made an incredible impression in the short time that you've been operating in real estate. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you, and I appreciate the gold stars.
All right. Also joining us, we'll bring them on briefly now because they'll have their say about the world of currency. It's not a currency webinar, but of course it's very important when it comes to buying a home and transferring your money from one continent to another. Ladies first, Sarah Davey from Spartan FX. How are you this evening?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me on here. As you say, it is just one of the parts of buying property that you'll need to consider.
Okay, excellent. And we'll bring you back on, if we may, around halfway. We intend to be on here for about an hour or so, or as long as really the questions keep coming. And Sarah, you'll give us your perspective from Spartan FX at around the 1/2 mark. Brian, you'll do similarly, I think. And we'll see if, like economists, there are varying views on what's going on. Brian, good evening to you. Nice to meet you from Currencies Direct. How's it going?
It's going very well. Thank you so much for having me on the platform. And yeah, I'm based on the East Coast of the U.S. In our office here in Florida. Big topic, very good moves in the FX market for getting involved with euro-denominated assets. So very pleased to be here. Happy to contribute however I can.
Cool. Oh, okay, great. We'll see you a little bit later on. And feel free, if you see questions coming into the chat about currency, do feel free to answer those, Sarah and Brian. We'll lose you from the screen for now, but we'll look forward to talking to you specifically about currency a little bit later on after we've heard a little bit more from each of our experts in real estate tonight. I wonder if we could dig a little deeper into the people behind the faces and names you see on the screens in front of you. And I want to have them, if they were sort of medics in the world of real estate, I want their finger on the pulse to tell us what they think is happening right now in Portugal and how it's looking for the future. We start with you, António, because, of course, you responded to some concerns that were coming up in various parts of our community and wider. People worried about a boom, worried about a bust, the usual things with real estate. With your finger on the pulse of property, Dr. Barbosa, what do you have to say about what's going on here in Portugal?
Well, at the moment, Portugal definitely is on the map. It's been on the map, on radar map. So it's hard not to be the focus, right? And real estate in Portugal, I could tell you that, for more than 22 years doing business here in real estate, it's never been any better. We just have a problem like everywhere else in the world, Carl, and that's lack of inventory. And that creates a rise, when you have demand. Real estate is all about demand and supply. When you have little supply and a lot of demand, prices will go. Our market is not as elastic per se, where it doesn't stretch out a lot and then come back. So we have a very softer market and a very solid market. And especially after 2012, the financial crisis, certain systems were put in place to safeguard the real estate market and the economy, because the real estate market is part of the economy. It touches in everybody's wallets. And even with the rise in interest rates, people talk about how unaffordable homes are for the Portuguese people. And it's true. But they're unaffordable everywhere in the world. I mean, we could talk about this in any part of the world, and it's facing the same challenges. Portugal is having the same challenges anywhere else in the world. Maybe we could probably do a lot more in terms of having better wages. I think that's probably something to talk about, but that's a different aspect of it. But it is. And so what I think is very important to keep in mind, the new measures that were what's called it's the new housing measures called Mais Habitação. What that's going to do, it's great for people that are already in the market, people that own a home, that rent a home. It's great because the new legislation is going to protect them. So if you already have a loan and they're going to be a moratorium on the interest rates, everything everything. But the people that are going to be going into the market now, buying or renting, they're going to be out. And that's the problem. And that's where these measures really need. They were, some of them were good in terms of the golden visa, removing it. Golden visa is really not, Portugal's still going to remain golden, visa or not, right? So that's not an issue. But we have to remember that but people are going to, you have to keep in mind, it's the people we need to get into the market, whether they're buying or renting, and where they're going to have difficulties. So the laws now are going to protect the people that are already inside the market. You know what I mean? That they're paying the house. Okay, they're going to have the moratorium. What about the people that are going to be they can't get access to credit? What about the people that really getting into a rental of a home or apartment, a rental property that can't afford it? And that's what the program didn't focus on. That's just, I'll leave it at there, pass on the mic back to you. But that's just, we have to consider the importance of the people that want to get into the market. And that's the new, where I didn't feel that a lot of it was the new housing measures focused on that. They focus on the people already in the market. It's a given. Yeah. The rent controls, everything, but not the new people that want to buy properties. And that's something that concerns me.
Okay, all right, we'll say more about that as we proceed. Thank you very much for that early analysis, diagnosis there. We'll go into more prognosis in a little while. Good to be here, say Bob and Viv. Vitor is certainly a help for us. He's got quite a lot of fan mail so far this evening. The other Costa, António Costa, confirmed that the special regime for non-habitual residents, which has generated so much criticism, mainly due to its potential to deregulate the housing market, will end in 24. So that's the news snippet, really. That's what's gone on. It's really shaking things up. It came in late last night. I don't know if he's electioneering, because also today he announced that he would like the minimum wage to be increased in 2024. I think he might be looking for a few votes, and these seem to be vote-winning measures. I think he wants the minimum wage to go up to, was it 800 or 900? I think in the new year. We can return to that as well. Dr. Veronica.
810.
810 was it, Vitor? Did you say? Okay. And obviously other parties in opposition think it should go up a whole lot more, as you would expect them to say. Dr. Veronica, what do you have to say about the patient who is the Portuguese real estate market?
I love that you say doctor, because I did learn, one of our friends that was putting doctor on his letters were like, you're not a doctor. That actually with an advanced degree in Portugal, you can put doctor. Like it can just be a bachelor's degree, which I wouldn't do, but so actually.
Okay.
So,
all right. Well, maybe one day.
I think it's all perspective and where you're coming from and where you're heading. And I think that's where we want the perspective of the Portuguese people and what's important to them, because we're immigrating into their country. But I think the perspective coming from outside of Portugal is that it's still a beautiful place to live. It's a safe place to live. It's in Europe, which for people from the other continents is that it's so special to be in Europe and to be able to drive around and get this culture and history, and it's special. And so I think for a lot of us that are coming from another economy, which you might say rich, it's just a matter of perspective, right? It's just where you might have a single family residence in a place like LA, that's $1 million. You come here, $1 million will buy you a lot. So you can buy a place for 250, 300 euros and retire early. So some of these like interest levels aren't going to affect the retirees, because they're just looking to get to Europe and get to Portugal and travel and live this amazing life with the Portuguese people. But I think most people that I've been speaking to are caring and considerate, and they don't want to take from the Portuguese people. So there is a bit of a dilemma there, but I don't see a lack of people coming here. What I see is a lack of inventory. So I think it's just to see what's going to happen in the future. Will some of these implementations of the laws, if they actually go through, give us more inventory? And will that then keep the prices more affordable or not? It's kind of to be seen. And what I tell people, no matter what, don't time the market. If this is your home, if this is where you want to live and it's affordable and you like where you live, then you buy. You don't try to time it. Earlier in the year, there was some hoopla that the Portuguese market was going to tank. Well, so people that were going to buy in January waited until March and April, and by that point, the market had increased 30%. in our towns in the Algarve. So that kind of speculation doesn't do your average homeowner good. Now, if you're a real estate investor, that's a different person. That's a different business model, and you should have a business plan and different money and backup for that. So for your average person who wants to live here, if you can afford it and you love it and it's the place for you, then you buy if you can. And I think a lot of what we're getting to is timing. What's the market going to do? We don't know. I think the indications point to maybe there will be more inventory. You just never know.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. So we've got some themes emerging, and if we have time, we'll ask you how you think more inventory can be created here. Don't time the market, and Portugal remains golden, even if it doesn't have the golden visa anymore. Let's keep working our way around the screen and talk to Carl Hyde from the agency. What would you say, Dr. Hyde, in this instance? I mean, he's not a real doctor. None of them are real doctors. I'm just using an analogy, a metaphor here. But if Portugal is the patient, what is your diagnosis, Carl?
Well, I mean, I agree a lot, totally really with what António and Veronica have just said. From my perspective, just to sort of go into a specific detail of it, is like the new rules on rentals and the rent control measures that are going to be coming into place. I've already seen a reaction from landlords. You know, I've been in contact with some clients, people who have found places for this year or last year, and their landlords are now looking to, some of them are anyway, to move them on, maybe increase the rents before these new rules come into place. And so I think the unintended consequences of some of these rules are actually, it's quite negative, you know, with the intention of reducing rental prices. It's having the opposite effect. There's been quite a spike in the past, definitely in the past month, 6 weeks or so. And so I don't think everything will work the way the government wants it to do, but I guess it's a game that's going to play out over the next, I don't know, 3 to 6 months, and we'll see where the chips will fall. But I'm not sure everything they're doing will work the way they intended to.
Okay, all right. Well, it remains to be seen, doesn't it? Thank you for that insight. And you have a particular expertise, it would appear, Carl, in finding people rental properties in Lisbon. Not many people can say that at the moment, but you're the man when it comes to Carl Hyde is the man. That Carl is the man who's capable of finding properties for rent still in Lisbon, and with many satisfied clients in that department. So cheers for the time being there, Carl. Let's go to Vitor Costa. And now, what would you add to this? After your namesake António has taken away the NHR, these two Costas are not to be confused. Vitor, what do you have to say about Portuguese real estate at the moment?
So, yeah, a little bit of everything that was said, but the way I look at it is, it seems like everybody is kind of chasing red herrings. And in terms of the regulations, things that change, it does seem like it is a little bit, for votes and to go to the lowest hanging fruit that will get people happy, but many of the things keep on going. For example, golden visa. Yes, in certain aspects, like you paying 500,000 euros to buy a home for yourself, you can't really do that anymore. But there are so many other ways that you can still get the golden visa, just out of sight, out of mind. And then, obviously I don't have a crystal ball or anything, but based on what I currently know, which I could be wrong and I'm learning every day, it kind of feels like perhaps more than the real estate itself, it's like, particularly since COVID, all of our currencies are being devalued massively. Like if you look at the M1 dollar stock, for example, which is kind of the money supply, I'm still researching the area, but there were basically about $4 trillion in circulation until about February of 2020. And then on that month, they multiplied by 5 and went to 20 trillion. And so a lot of people, and some Portuguese people, I've heard some comments that say that, it's because of the foreigners that everything is getting more expensive and so on and so forth. But then by the same argument, you need to blame them for bread being more expensive as well, and water and services and electricity, because everything is going up as well.
Yeah.
But if your bread goes from 10 cents to 15 cents, it's like, okay, it went up 5 cents, but that's still a 50% increase.
Yeah.
If a property goes from 200,000 to 300,000, now that you notice, right?
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're going to see how things go. It is true that there's not a whole lot of supply, and which makes our job a little bit harder as real estate agents, because we need to compare properties, but there aren't really a lot to compare to. And construction prices go up and down. But I think she said it best. Do what's right for you today. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know if it's going to go up, if it's going to go down. If something feels right for you and it's going to improve your life, who cares if you could have bought it for cheaper later? It's valuable for you now.
Yeah. And of course, it could go the other way, couldn't it? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting views, as we would expect from you, Vitor Costa of Portugal Door. I would like to talk about how more inventory can be brought into the market. I want to play this clip that you captured for us earlier on today to just tell everybody that the water is still lovely, and the genuine reasons, authentic reasons why people want to move to Portugal. And one reaction certainly to the NHR. But António, have we got any questions that have come through yet from Clubhouse? Any action over there that you want to remark upon?
No, Carl, not at the moment.
All right. Okay. Get your questions in, folks, in our chat here. We're streaming on a number of platforms and channels, and we're on Clubhouse too. And in a moment, I'm going to ask our panel here. This is the Get Real on Portuguese real estate. So how, for somebody who wants to buy in Portugal from afar, what's the step plan you recommend to help get them on, literally on the property ladder here in Portugal? What should they do? People can waste a lot of time and ultimately a lot of money. You guys know how to get people engaged with the real estate market in a meaningful way here. And I'm going to ask you for your individual approaches on that after we've heard from your friend here. Is Elizabeth, wasn't it, Veronica? So it's a minute of reaction to this very fresh news today that the NHR scheme in Portugal is going to be scrapped.
Hi friends, it's Veronica American in Portugal, and this
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, what just happened today, Elizabeth?
I got my CEF card. We went to the CEF office in Porto Alegre, and it went smoothly and easily, and now I'm an official resident.
Okay, and so as an American also in Portugal, did you come here for this, or did you come here for NHR?
For this?
Yeah, so with the NHR changes, would that keep you away from buying a house here?
No.
Right, because
this is it. It's all about adventure and history and loveliness, safety.
being in Europe.
Yeah, I can't say enough good things about it.
Okay, cheers. You heard it from the American's mouth. NHR, we're not here for NHR. We're not here for like dirt cheap prices. We're here for a lovely, safe, historic place in lovely Portugal.
A wonderful life.
Yay. Cheers, friends. Yay!
Beautiful, Evra. Thank you so much for recording that, Veronica. That's what it's really all about, isn't it, coming to Portugal? As has been said before, golden visa's gone, but it's still a golden lifestyle you can expect here. Beautifully captured there. The testimony of one person. I think others will agree. There will be people around the world, of course, who are hearing that news about the NHR being axed, and it might influence their decision to move here or somewhere else. But we shall see. So, people viewing from afar who are either watching with us tonight, António, or will see this in the replay. Let's get real. Let's cut to the chase. You want to buy somewhere in property. What's the best way to go about that, António?
The best way, definitely consult a realtor. Okay. Someone that can guide you through the market. Someone that's going to represent you. Finding the property is one thing, but definitely getting to know what the market's like. Get a buyer representation agreement signed. No professional will ever work with you if you don't have one. So find a professional, hire a professional. That's the number one thing to do, because nobody else is going to want to lift a finger to find you anything. At least I won't. So with that said, find a realtor to really navigate the market. Okay. And there's a couple of nuances about the real estate or moving here. And that is about the residency program. So getting to know about it. Find somebody that there's certain procedures that you do have to go first. Finding the property. I would even go before finding the property, Carl, find the location. Portugal is big, from north to south in between. What is your lifestyle? What climate do you like? What do you want to do? Do you want to be near the ocean? Do you want to play golf? Lifestyle. That's what most people, foreigners and Portuguese too, when they're investing in second homes and other investment properties, it's about lifestyle. More than ever, for anyone choosing to live here, it's a lifestyle choice. So know what your lifestyle is. You want to be, like I said, you want to live in a closed-in condominium, have a resort lifestyle where you don't have to worry about cleaning the house or the garden and, those things. And that's the most important thing whenever anybody wants or contacts us about moving here. Really is about the location and the lifestyle. Because remember, if you're like the four-season kind of person, you're gonna love the Minho. It rains. There's 4 seasons. If you live in Northern California, for sure the Minho is perfect for you. If you love sunny weather and warm weather, a little water at the times, then you need to be near Veronica in the south. Maybe if you want the lifestyle, the posh LA lifestyle, extract, then you need to be around where Carl is, Lisbon and stuff. There, Victor's here in the Minho, so with me. And it's a different lifestyle. Okay, if you want to be in a community, do you want to be maybe in a retirement community? Do you want to be around the expats? So those are all the questions you should be asking first, or you have the answers too. I'll be asking those questions, but those are the answers you have to ask yourself. Because then navigating, once you do that, then navigating the property market, doing a search, finding, sending out. We don't have an MLS system here yet. We will. We'll have an MLS system. We're working on it. I'm part of bringing an MLS system to Portugal. So that's definitely a tool where we could share listings. And probably for us professionals, definitely getting an MLS cooperative. Not that funky stuff that you have on Idealista, Imo Virtual, all those. We'd have that. The Zillows, the open doors, the one ways. You have all that stuff, but they're not reliable. Anybody that I think one of the most important things, and I think we can all attest to here, when somebody reaches out to us, oh my God, you answered the phone or you emailed back, so those are the things. Get a professional, someone that's going to get you here. And that's ultimately what you want. You don't need an estate agent. What you need is an ambassador, somebody to bring you from there to here and knowing the process from A to Z. That's where you start, Carl.
Thank you, António. A bit of Tony time this evening on the big webinar tonight, Getting Real on Portuguese Real Estate. I think it's time. We'll come back with the same question, of course. I think, in essence, distilled down there but by António, to find the right place and the right people to work with. We'll see if Veronica, Carl, and Vitor agree with that. I think it's a good time to talk to our currency, get a couple of currency angles now. Let's go first to Sarah. Bring Sarah back on. Thank you for being with us tonight, Sarah, from the UK. Good time for, well, António was talking about if you live in the south of California or the north of California or anywhere in America and you're holding dollars, a good time to buy euros, isn't it, Sarah? Oh, we need you unmuted as well. Sorry, I've kept you muted for 20 minutes and then,
I'm not ready.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, that's fine. No, it is a good time. I think certainly what the experts have said, some of the things are similar for us. I mean, one, you're talking about, when is a good time to buy property? Obviously, they've highlighted a few issues of sort of stock and things like that to consider. But yes, currency is definitely one of those things. It's a really good time. If you're selling US dollars and buying euros, we're at 10-month highs. Just to put that into real terms for people, if you're buying a house for 250,000 euros, if the difference between buying it today and buying it 3 months ago is about 20,000 US dollars cheaper to buy it today. So putting that into real terms, that's why you really do need to consider the exchange rate, because it will make that property cheaper or more expensive for you. And again, I always say to people, it depends on your time frames as well. So at the moment, you might just be looking to buy property. It might not be something that you're ready. Obviously, people that are completing shortly, it's a great time, but you might be thinking, well, I'm just looking around. I'm probably not going to buy. Well, depending on when you find your dream property, it could be next week, but it could be in 6 months or 12 months time. We're dealing with a lot of customers, especially Americans, that are doing a lot of research with their move to Portugal. And what's the rate going to be in 6 to 12 months time? I mean, nobody's got a crystal ball, but we're certainly watching the rates for you. And there's just a lot to consider with inflation, with the state of different economies. That's why we've seen the euro weaken, because of the economic growth. That's the forecasts have been downgraded. The US economy is doing well. And the constant battle really for the central banks is between fighting inflation by increasing interest rates, but at the detriment to economic growth, essentially. And that's kind of what we're watching. And is very much data driven. So it really is month by month, day by day when this data comes out, which is kind of making it quite difficult to forecast. But certainly we can hold your hand on that journey. But as I was saying, if you're looking to buy in the future, there are still options available for you. We can buy euros in advance and hold those euros on account free of charge for you. You know, we've got clients last year that bought when the euro, US dollar euro was at parity, which was a great time. So we can hold on to those euros. If you're definitely thinking about moving or buying a property, that might be something to consider, or we can fix rates for those future payments. So don't worry, there is lots of options. But as I said, don't leave it to the last minute. You'll have more options available, and certainly you can try and think and budget, help you budget for your property by considering the exchange rate.
Brilliant. Sarah, we at Good Morning Portugal and the GMP VIPs are over at gmpvip.com work closely with Sarah, so you can talk to her over there. Thank you for joining us this evening, Sarah. And you've got a guide, haven't you, that's available via our community as well on working with currency exchange. So thank you very much for being with us this evening. And we'll swap you over now with Brian, who works and collaborates closely with António. So hello again to you, Brian. Still in the office there. That's a real backdrop, isn't it? That's not one of these backdrops that makes you look hard working. You're really still in the office there, aren't you?
That is totally true. Still business hours here stateside, and we still come to the office. Granted, a couple days a week, but
wow.
Yeah, we actually still have physical locations.
Well, so and what would you say? What would you add to Sarah's analysis there?
Gosh, I don't think I could add anything. A couple things though. Everything that Sarah, I totally agree with what she stated, and I guess one thing further to that is kind of forecasts of where we're seeing things. At the beginning of the year, we were looking at the euro between 110 and 105. We had a lot of people looking for parity once again. We did hit that last year, 2023, in October. We might get a revisit of that. It's still we're not 100% certain. As Sarah mentioned, no one really has a crystal ball, but it's looking like we could see some more euro weakness, which is really, really boding well for anyone who is holding US dollars or Americans that have dollars to deploy into property and euro denominated assets. Historically speaking, whether it's 103, 104, 105, very, very good time to get involved with euro denominated assets, purchasing euros. So green light for Americans getting involved in Portugal for sure from our end.
Great. All right. Thanks, Brian. And you can contact Brian via António. Thank you very much for being here. Much appreciated, Brian, and good to meet you.
Thank you.
And bye for now. Okay. Sarah and Brian may well be working behind the scenes and picking up questions in the chat. Do keep those questions coming. This is an interactive webinar. We're getting real on Portuguese real estate. We're finding out what the best steps to take to cut through the noise and the occasional fogginess that MLS system might cut through at some time in the future that António was talking about. Veronica, would you agree with António's approach there? Of course, he distilled it down to choosing the right place for yourself and choosing the right professionals to work with. What if you don't know where you want to go? What if Portugal just seems like a mass of amazing places and it's hard to focus in on somewhere you want to go to?
Well, I think this is where you have to differentiate between a tour guide and a real estate agent. And I think António brought up a really good point. He said he uses a buyer's agreement. And I think this is important too, because an agent who is worth their weight in gold, before he just goes out and showing you everything, he's going to also have a contract that says, look, if I take my time, money, and gas and start showing you around, you're not going to just hop, skip, and jump to everybody out there. And pre-qualification of the clients is important too. So these people that go on Idealist and click, 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 and wait for 50 agents to respond back to them. If you look at the numbers in that, so I, as one human, can maybe in a day click to 20 agents, right, to have them respond to me. If 100 people are doing that, this poor agent is supposed to respond to all of them, and you're not loyal to any of them. Why should they take their time to respond to you? So before I pass my referrals to anybody, before I pass them to Carl or anyone else, I'm going to pre-qualify them and make sure they're serious. So they can talk to me about where they might like to live. We can talk about that. We can talk about maybe tours. And then I have them go through a full profile, like António was discussing. And I even have that online in my channel on a little planner, like close your eyes and where do you see yourself? Do you see yourself on a beach? Do you see yourself in the country? Are you in an apartment? Are you in a state, in a house, or, you know, one of these lock and go type resort places? How do you picture your life? Are you retiring? Are you working? What does it look like? And I think some people just go, oh, Portugal, I want to look in Europe. And you have to understand, we as YouTubers get thousands of people who say we're interested. But then when you say to them, okay, fill out my questionnaire, and now you're putting an onus on them to take 5 minutes of their time. When they don't take the time to do it back, you know they're not serious. So I think we do hear a lot in the real estate agent's defense that they don't get back to you. They don't get back to you because they don't know if you're serious or not. If you come through a referral source or a referral contact, like if they saw my channel, they filled out my little questionnaire and I passed them off to António or Carl or Vitor, they'll be like, okay, Veronica pre-qualified them. Of course, I'm going to call them back. Or if they came through a friend of a friend, you know, people are going to call them back. And I'm not saying, oh, let me pre-qualify everybody. They have their own ways to do that. But people need to realize that there's a lot of wishers out there, and your agents are professionals and they're amazing and their time is valuable. So when they call you back, you are so lucky because there's so many great people. Seriously.
I agree. I'm laughing because it's true. Yeah.
But there's, I mean, in even in the States, there's people that are like, oh, I walked into an agency office and I want them to go show me everything. Or would you walk to an attorney's office and say, hey, I want you to give me 4 hours of your time and I might not pay you? Or walk into a chef restaurant and say, hey, give me a taste of everything on your menu, and then go to the guy next door, get a dessert and pay him for all the food. So,
well, when you put it like that, absolutely. And, you know, Portugal has this reputation, doesn't it, for perhaps being a little bit, is flaky the right word? I don't know, but it's certainly, I've heard this, it's a humorous comment, you know, that Portugal has 10 million real estate agents because everyone is trying to sell you a property here, even the kids. And there is a problem. If you have someone who says, yeah, no problem, just rock up any time and I'll drive you around and show you any properties you want. Whilst that might sound quite good to you as an individual, there's probably some sort of other side to that will reveal itself later on in the process, right? So look for professionals. They are professionals for a reason.
With a qualified agent, make sure they're referred to you by people. Make sure that, I mean, clearly everybody on here is a good referral. You've brought them on. I give clients to Carl, the other Carl, that Carl. And they're doing a beautiful job. And it's really important that you get the best people because there's scammers out there. Do you realize anyone can put an ad on Idealista? Anyone. And we just had a guy in the Algarve, a community leader who was sentenced to 9 years for selling properties to people that weren't real properties to be sold.
Allow me to just one small thing there. Individuals can put ads for free, and real estate agents need to pay to use Idealista.
Yeah. Okay. But so I could be in like some other country and pop up some ads. And that's why a lot of the ones on Idealista will have a watermark. Like it'll say the company's name. So it might say the agency or António's name, because people from other countries will screenshot it, make an ad. Was it 50, 70 bucks? Make an ad. And if you send money overseas without having met this individual or have a good recommendation, things can go wrong. So you need these professionals. You need good professionals. You need António, who's willing to say, look, I am worth the time and worth your signature to say, if I drive you around places, you aren't just going to call somebody else and buy something from him, because you've now taken his time away from a client who needs his time, or his family, or hey, just drinking with his buddies, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's why you do get a lot of people popping up thinking, oh, hey, I can just do this, but then they're not as professional. Or you get people who are kind of flooding the market with just requests, expecting the agents to run around and treat them like a tour guide.
Okay, and on that note, that's a really good distinction. Thank you, Veronica, because there are tour guides available. Look no further than Bob and Viv, who will take you around and show you the place and tell you what's what. They're not real estate agents. They're not trying to sell you property, but they will give you an insight into Portuguese life from their own experience. And that's the sort of service you can get, a different kind of professional. But tonight we're talking about real estate professionals. What would you add to that? We have a question that's come in as well, so you might like to weave this in as well, Carl Hyde from the agency. We want to find the right home, and we were advised it could potentially take many months. Time range, how long should we plan for a search with tight inventory plus the legal process? So could you add your comments about, working with professionals, choosing where to live, and time scale now, please, Carl?
Well, I mean, as António was saying earlier, you sort of need to plan ahead. Find yourself an agent who can work on your behalf, and if you know where you want to live, or if you've got an idea geographically where you want to be, or the kind of place you want to be, that's going to help massively. From there, I mean, if you're working with an agent, they should help you anyway. But make sure that you've got the finance in place. I get this a lot, and it goes back to what Veronica was just saying now about being sort of a tour guide for people. A lot of agents, a lot of serious agents will ask for proof of funds or proof of a mortgage before you can view a place. So if you're serious and you want to move the process along more quickly, then get all these things sorted out earlier on. Don't sort of go window shopping, driving around, looking at different places, and then decide, hey, this place is perfect. I want to make a bid, but I've got no mortgage in place. I've not got the finance in place. So these are sort of the steps that you can take all along the way that mean that when you do find that place, you're ready to strike. That's going to give you a greater chance of winning the place. And also it gives you a good place to negotiate from, if you've got the funds, the mortgage ready to go, because that's sort of, it's very tempting for a listing agent for sure. If you can show them that, you've got a client that's very interested and also is ready to go. Going back to sort of what kind of time scale, I mean, really it's how long is a piece of string? I mean, if you want to come looking tomorrow, I've had clients, buyers and renters who, you go out on day one and you find that perfect place straight away, and it just happens like that. And then you get some other people and it just doesn't seem to happen. You go after viewing after viewing after viewing, and it can drag on for months and months and months, So the best sort of advice is just to be ready to strike, If you can do that, then the process will move along. And also I would say just on that, don't rush into anything either. Be patient. If you've got a good agent, and they've got a good legal team behind them, then you'll be able to follow all the legal pathway, pass it through their lawyers, make sure everything's legitimate and as it should be, so you're not making mistakes. I mean, I had some clients recently that bought a place cash, maybe about 5 or 6 years ago. They didn't realize it had some problems with it. It doesn't have a habitation license. They didn't know that because they were paying cash. It was an older building that had some renovations done to it. And so they fell into a bit of a trap where they bought the place and then they've had to make some renovations and go through the whole process of getting habitation license. So don't rush, but be prepared and ready to strike, when that time comes.
Okay, so that's really helpful in the timescale, is having the ducks in a row admin-wise. Thank you for the suggestion to have a copy of our funds from the bank if we don't need a mortgage or mortgage for others. We'll let the agent know if you're serious. I'm adding that to my list. Thanks from my Italian therapy, Gina Fiore, who's been with us all evening. Thank you for your earlier input as well, Gina. Ola from the Global Nobles who are with us now. We work with Spartan Effects. They're amazing. Thrilled to recommend them. Shout out to Steve, who was brilliant. It's lovely to get those sort of personal recommendations. So thank you, Global Nobles. And going back to this question from Val Mack, thank you for being here, Val Mack, as well on this webinar, getting real about Portuguese real estate. I think we should do this again as a regular thing. If someone closes on a house, how long does it take to get the deed for the visa paperwork? I think you've dealt with people, Vitor, in a similar sort of situation. There are no rules to this. And as has been said, how long is a piece of string? But can we have some quickest times and longest times? Vitor, have you got anything to add to that?
Sure. That's actually a great thing. I was going to mention that in terms of timing, to be safe, whenever a Portuguese person gives you a time frame, double it. So if they tell you it's going to take 1 or 2 months, expect 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Right. For example, I have a client right now. He was supposed to be in his new home that they were building in July, August. We're going to see if we can get it by December.
Okay.
Right. So, and then adding to, I still didn't answer. How long does it take for the deed? It really depends. Like if everything is ready to go, you just need to schedule the date at the notary's office. You sign the deed, the property is yours. Congratulations.
Yeah.
I've had clients that were in that position and the seller wanted to sell and, he didn't even live in the house, whatever. Okay, perfect. Let's go because they want to get in. That way they won't even have to pay more in rent. Oh, yeah, but actually the property was like a bank special financing of sorts that he did I don't know how many years ago, and then they need to correct the areas and then get this document, and that one, it's going to be about 3 months. So
yeah, be prepared for the best, or hope for the best and prepare for the worst there. As professionals, let's go back to António because Ray is saying good evening to you. Ray Perez is here tonight saying hello to you, António. As you suggested, António, get some, work with the professionals. Are you able to influence these processes as a real estate pro? Can you lean in a little bit on behalf of your clients and get things speeded up?
Hey, first a shout out to Ray, and give me 1 second because I was responding.
You're busy working hard in Clubhouse, aren't you, as well?
Yeah,
it depends is the answer. It depends because if everything lines up, you can go from CPCV to closing 10 business days, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That is a classic Portuguese answer.
Absolutely.
It depends. And when I've asked for a translation of the phrase, when I've said to, I think it was to Gilda in the visa world, can you translate "it depends" for me? And she said, well, it depends which "it depends" you mean. There are nuances within that as well. So, António, what would you add?
Well, first, I'd like to just follow up. There was a question that was asked. Someone, I think it was Eric. Let me just go back here. That had to do with the timing and the property. Okay, listen. If you're thinking of moving to Portugal here in, say, let's just say February of 2024, count 4 months back, minimum. Count 4 months back. 4 months for what? You're going to need the 2 months. The first thing, if you're scheduling, you're going to need usually, and we just got, we actually just got somebody approved with the D7 visa process, record time in DC. We're getting one now for San Francisco. We've had to take it 120 days, 128 days. Now it's 4 weeks, the last one that we just did, So it can vary. Things are speeding up right now in terms of visa processes, Hire an attorney or hire somebody that will know the process. Get in touch with us. Get in touch with someone that we do this with our eyes closed. We're professionals, any one of us here. And the process is going to take minimum 4. So you got to plan ahead. You're going to move look at it 6 months. There's a process a year before. Reach out to us. I mean, even going through, we'll walk you through. We're tour guides here, Carl. I think we're not a state agent. We're not estate agents. We'll become estate agents when someone is ready to buy a property and have a buyer representation agreement signed. Until then, you are a tour guide. You're an ambassador. You're going to walk people through Google, finding the best communities, the best lifestyle, the best budget. People don't know. They know Lisbon, Porto. Hey, I know this beautiful country. It exists somewhere there on the other side of the Atlantic, but they have no clue of what it really is. There's some beautiful little villages tucked away, not only in the Algarve, in Lisbon, in the Minho, in the Aveiro. There's so many. We'll walk you through Google Maps to find the best lifestyle location, the best community. Maybe you have children and you need to go to school. Wouldn't that you need to know the schools near you, right? Hire a professional. That's the first thing. A year before, start planning a year before, 6 months before. Look into the visa because you forget about if you're going to be renting a property, and I recommend it. Forget about buying a property. Rent for a year. It's going to fulfill one of the requirements for the D7 visa process. And then, unless you visited Portugal a dozen times, you know you have friends that live in that area, and you're going to go. Maybe the schools. Once you determine lifestyle location, then you're ready for a search. Then you're ready to get started, even before buying a property. There's a question there. By the time you buy a property, how long is the visa? You buy the property today. If it's ready to close, you can close on it the next day. I'll get you a notary, even if it's on a Saturday or Sunday. I'll get you a notary to close on that property, and you'll have the deed because everything is registered online. So the problem is not buying the property and getting the deed. I think the question was about after you do the deed and you close or the rental agreement, what is the process and the waiting time to get the visa, okay, the residency permit? And don't mistake, there's such a thing as a D7 visa. That's exactly what it is. It's a visa. Okay, it's a visa for you to come to stay for more than 90 days. Because if you are traveling just as a Schengen visa, you are allowed to stay for up to 90 days. So when you want to stay for more 90 days, you need a visa. It's called the D7 visa. It's actually called a passive income visa because they're going to base it upon your income. And what that D7 visa is going to do, Carl, it's going to allow you to travel to Portugal. You have 120 days to come here. And that's what Veronica did today with her friend in Porto Alegre. She went for the appointment and she has the residency card. Like the same, like if you get in the US, the green card, it's actually blue here. And what she could do then she can go to the local healthcare center. Then she can go do a lot of stuff, and that's what you need. Then you are actually a resident. And then that's the process. After a year, you're going to have to renew the D7 visa. Is a 2-year process. You're going to have to renew it. And then at the end of 5 years, you ultimately can ask for the passport. Now, to answer the question, you need to start thinking a year in advance. You need to start thinking 6 months about taking care of the visa, the residency plan. Because otherwise, if you are just buying a property, you don't need, the distinction is buying a property, you don't need any visa process. The distinction is if you're going to stay more than 90 days, because if you are, then you need to go through some visa process. Otherwise, just go through the Schengen visa. Hey, you can come for 90 days at a time, spend 90 days here, leave the Schengen space, come back again for another 90 days. You could spend 180 days in Portugal. The D7 visa is going to allow you to stay like a residency. It's a residency status. Gives you residency. You could work, you could play, you could do a lot of stuff, but you have residency here, right? And then ultimately at the end of the 5 years is the passport. And that residency, the D7 visa, there is a waiting time. It used to be a lot more, but think about if you're moving, say in February, okay, look 4 months back, what you're going to need to do with that. First thing, schedule an appointment at the D7 visa. Every single state that you live, okay, if you live on the East Coast, you're going to either go to New York or DC. Okay, there what's called the VFS services. VFS services is going to schedule the appointment, and it's not in Chicago, it's not in Houston. There's VFS services everywhere throughout the U.S. and there's there. But you're going to go either to the consulate service in New York City, or in Washington D.C., or in San Francisco. Okay, those what you have, nothing else. Forget about VFS services. They are a company that schedule your appointment. And so you need to schedule first an appointment. Send an email to the embassy. What is the waiting time that I'm going to need before I have the appointment for the D7 visa? If they tell you, you can get normally, Carl, and anybody listen, you can get the appointment in 3 weeks or so. Okay, it's quick. So if you know that you're going to have the appointment in 3 weeks, listen, you can't have all the documents, a rental agreement, Carl, right? Finding a property, etc. If you already have all that, so look at it 4 months back. Think of it. And so normally the appointment takes schedule in the DC office or at any consulate service office. Consulate services, not VFS. VFS will schedule the appointment in the consulate services. And what you're going to do, you're going to need, then you're going to have that appointment date. So if you're going to have the appointment date in February, not in February, you're going to have the appointment date, say you schedule it today, you will have that appointment probably in a month and a half, without a doubt. With the way things are going now, right, really quickly, and what we've had the experience with our lawyers take care of these processes, they're going pretty quickly. And so you're scheduling the appointment. At that appointment, that's when you need that NIF number, bank account, proof of income in the bank. You got to have the money in the bank. You got to have a 1-year insurance policy here for healthcare, okay? Because you're not going to be having, after you are a permanent resident or residency authorization, then you can ask for the public healthcare system. Until then, you need 1 year. So these are all requirements. They're about 7 or 8 FBI background check. You know, it's only valid for 90 days in the US, right? In other countries,
you can't be opening it. Yeah,
You-
I mean, we are
that.
drifting in, Tony. We're drifting into a visa, a special
sorry.
now.
Go ahead.
No, that's fine. I mean,
Question.
no, it's absolutely fine, because I know you basically just want to be helpful to people who are moving to Portugal. So we should address this on another occasion, because we were just a few minutes away from closing now. And I thank you for your thoroughness and your wish to bring that in, because people do need to know about that. What I want to do in the last few minutes remaining is give the important details for how people get in touch with you. We've established tonight that it's important to work with professionals. How can they do that if they can't find you? So while Sarah's coming back, because Sarah has something to add to the timing issue. How about António, Veronica, Carl, and Vitor? Make sure your details are available on the screen, if you will, in the chat, or at least send them to me in the private chat so that people can connect with you. And we've got our network all over Portugal. Let's bring Sarah on while you're doing that, because we're going to finish in about 3 minutes. Sarah, go ahead. You wanted to add something about timing?
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
I wanted to muted again in the back. Just quickly on process, because forget about the exchange rate for the moment, but how quickly can you get your money there? And I know Carl from the agent was talking about sort of obviously being prepared and getting your documents in order, and that's something to consider. You know, even if you didn't use a specialist like ourselves and you wanted to use your bank, I know a lot of people will be considering to use your bank. Just bear in mind it can take a while for the money to transfer, especially if they're converting the currency for you. We've seen anywhere from like 5 to 10 days for that money to reach a beneficiary. So certainly if you're buying a property, it may be delayed, that payment, if you've got an actual payment deadline that you need to make. So just factor that in. And also compliance as well. We know that we've seen a few customers that have tried to use a purely online service, and really anything over 10,000, you need to be providing compliance documentation for anti-money laundering. And we've seen it where customers have made an exchange, but their money's been held until they can provide that documentation. So all I would say is that if you don't use a specialist, just bear in mind timeframes of moving your money. Don't leave it to the last minute, because it could take some time for that money to get there if you've got a payment deadline. Obviously, if you do use a specialist like ourselves, then we can get the money there very quickly. As the team said, obviously use an expert, and that's probably an example. But as I said, I would just bear that in mind if you choose not to use a specialist, that your bank may take a little bit longer. You don't want to be stressed trying to make a payment for your property and miss that deadline.
I think you, Sarah, and Brian have seen this. People getting stressed out at the last minute trying to buy currency and move it. Anything to add to that, Brian?
Yes. I mean, what Sarah's organization, our organization, really, we try to take the stress out of moving money. It's typically large amounts of money. It can be a nerve-wracking process, especially if you've never done it before.
Yeah.
So definitely work with an expert in doing that and making sure that everything is done correctly and efficiently. So that's what I'll add to that.
Thank you very much, Brian. Thank you for being here from Currencies Direct. Much appreciated. Enjoy the rest of your day over there in the United States. Sarah, have a lovely evening in the United Kingdom. Thank you both. I'll say goodbye to you both at that point and give you thanks, and then just conclude with that's unceremonious. I can't do a fade or a gentle thing. I just have to boot them from the screen. I'm sorry, so sorry I had to do that, but you can.
Charles, quick question: do we really not have 3 minutes?
You don't have 3 minutes. We have no minutes left. Just enough time, if people will permit us and indulge us a little bit longer, to each of you give your contact details personally on the screen, and maybe a final word. Let's go to you, Veronica, because your final word, I think, is remember not to time the market. You and your final word and your details, please, Veronica.
So don't time the market, live here if you can, and you want to be here, be here. You can reach me at info@americaninportugal.com. And then the videos, of course, American in Portugal, for slice of life, what it's like to really live here, like the fun, the crazy, the wacky stuff we do.
We love those videos. Thank you, Veronica. And catch Veronica on the show, of course, as you can with all of these real estate pros. They have a monthly residency on the Good Morning Portugal show. We'll come to you last, António, as the suggester of this great experience that we've had tonight. Let's talk to you, Vitor, your contact details and your final word.
PortugalDoor.com has all my contact details, and you can also book a meeting directly on my calendar there. The one thing I wanted to add is that everybody talked about hiring a professional. Yes, and the why is because anybody can be a real estate agent here in Portugal with no fees, with no accountability, no responsibility. You can just knock at an agency's door, become an agent. So most people won't really have your best interest at heart. They just want to make a commission because maybe they sell one home, if that, per year. So they'll see you as a piggy bank. Talk to the people, make sure you vet them well, like whether it's me, whether it's Antonio, anyone else. And the professionals, they don't mind if you work with other people. Like I've had clients close to Antonio's place. I gave him a call. Hey, are you interested in this listing? Because he's closer to there. I don't need to keep all of it for myself, and I'm sure he thinks the same way. So
yeah, well, that's the hallmark. That is the hallmark of the people on the screen here. Great collaborators, and that's very important too. So thank you for being here tonight and collaborating. Squire of the Shires thinks so too. Great show. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Vitor, for that. Let's go to you, Carl Hyde. I'll put your details on the screen. What would you like to add?
Well, I mean, you know, you can just dip your toe into the world of Portugal. You don't have to buy. I mean, I can help you if you want to buy something in and around Lisbon for sure. But if you're looking for something to rent, if you're not sure where you want to be yet, this is a great place to sort of start that journey. You're in the middle of the country and you can go north, you can go south and see what is going to suit you. So it's a great place to start. And it's not impossible to find rentals in Lisbon. Don't believe what you hear online. I'm very good at finding people rentals. So if anybody wants any help or advice with that, feel free to contact me. You put my email address there, carl.hyde@theagencyre.com.
RE for real estate, I'm guessing. Thank you very much, Carl Hyde. Superb.
Yeah.
Finally, then, last but certainly not least, and thank you so much for giving us the push to host this and have this happen tonight, Antonio. Your contact details and your last concluding word.
Sure. First, apologize. Not apologize. I don't apologize because I didn't do anything wrong. But I was conscious that I went off on a tangent with the D7 visa because it is something that is quite. And just thank you, Rafe Perez. Ray jumped in on the call, and also Brian for coming in. You know, listen. You want to reach out to me the best way. You can email me. You can call me. You know what the best way to get a hold of me? Schedule a Zoom call. Okay, because I'm not going to answer emails. You know what? You want to speak to me? You want me to respond to messages? I don't do that. You know what? I speak to people live, in person, and virtually. You could do it too. And I need to see you looking in the eyes, turning on your camera, not in your PJs, because you sometimes I've had that. You know, when it's and schedule a Zoom call. I'll walk you through Portugal. Okay, show you the best communities to live, budget, whatever lifestyle. There's my business card in you. I think you put it up there already. That's the best way. You have my Google reviews there. You have my Facebook, social media. See what people are saying about us, the work we've done. That's what you do. Do your due diligence. Find the professional. Do your due diligence. Do your due diligence. Okay, and make sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Antonio, very much indeed. And we'll make sure those details are in the notes on the recordings as well. So thank you, all four of you. And thanks, everybody who tuned in and who asked questions tonight. I think we'll do this again sometime soon. And join me on the Good Morning Portugal show tomorrow when we'll deal with more reaction about the axing of the NHR tax regime system scheme. See you then. And thank you for your video, Veronica, on that. Take care. Bye for now. Enjoy the rest of your evening or day. Ciao, ciao.